Time now for a look at what's grabbing headlines around the world, and we can say hello once again to Clement Bunaho. Morning.
Hi. Morning.
You were starting with South Africa, where the governing ANC party is meeting to decide the fate of the president, Jacob Zuma, who's clung to power for 9 years, but he faces a number of corruption charges, some dating back several years.
Absolutely, and many South Africans simply cannot wait for Zuma to go. Time's Up reads the headline on the front page of the Sowetan, one of South Africa's most popular tabloids. Afrikaans Daily Beeld, meanwhile, says South Africa is impatient. Many in the ANC have long tried to get rid of the president, but Zuma has so far managed to hold on to power. The Star, meanwhile, urges ANC leaders to put the final nail in Zuma's coffin and turn the page on a presidency marred by corruption allegations. The leader of the ANC, Cyril Ramaphosa, has said he will handle the matter with care and purpose. Now, he's been blamed for trying to negotiate Jacob Zuma's departure. He's now getting ready for a fight with the president, as this cartoon shows in City Press. You see Ramaphosa loading a gun, the Buffalo, as he's known in South Africa, a reference to his taste for expensive game, is ready to take on the elephant, Jacob Zuma.
Now, this meeting comes a day after celebrations in the country marking the 100-year birth anniversary of Nelson Mandela.
Absolutely, and the Star says that ANC leaders must ensure that Nelson Mandela's legacy lives on. Today is a hugely historic day, the paper writes. Mandela came to deliver us from white greed. Cyril Ramaphosa has undertaken to deliver us from black greed. To regain the confidence of voters, politicians must wage a relentless war against corruption. The Star concludes this is what Mandela would have done.
Now, moving on to other news and Israel's air raids in Syria over the weekend. Papers around the world are worried about the possibility of an all-out war between regional powers.
That's right. This weekend's events have left many commentators worried, sparking fears of an escalation in Syria. Both Iran and Israel have vowed restraint, meaning that a regional war is unlikely right now. But as Lebanese paper L'Orient Le Jour points out, this is only temporary. Tensions between regional powers have been simmering for months, and the situation on the ground is highly unpredictable.
Because there are so many proxy wars being fought anyways in the region. And speaking of the latest tensions in the region, the US Secretary of State Rex Tillerson is on a regional tour.
That's right, and he's likely to face confrontational talks at every single stop on his 5-country tour of the Middle East. The most contentious stop will probably be Turkey. Ankara and Washington are NATO allies, but Turkish media have become increasingly critical of the US's support for Kurdish militias in northern Syria. Some commentators in the Turkish press even accusing the US of being an enemy of Turkey.
That's the last stop on his trip. He saved the best for last. Now, we're moving on to a scandal that's rocking the United Kingdom, and that's Oxfam. Of course, the NGO's aid workers have been accused of using prostitutes in Haiti, some who may have been minors at the time.
Absolutely. The story is on the front page of the Daily Mail today. The charity has officially apologised and said that all those involved have either resigned or been fired. Senior Oxfam managers are set to meet with the government today to try and establish whether the NGO tried to cover up the activities of some of its aid workers. The government has threatened to cut government funding if the charity is unable to provide a valid explanation.
And they're not the only charity to have been named, are they?
That's right. Save the Children, Christian Aid, the British Red Cross and other charities have been accused of sexual abuse in recent months. The Independent says that charities must be held to a higher moral standard and show determination to put their mistakes right.
And you're ending on a lighter note, Clement. The Carnival underway in Brazil and in Rio de Janeiro, it's in full swing. Revelers, however, have been told that sparkles are not necessarily good for the planet.
That's right.
What are they going to do?
That's right. When you think about the Carnival in Rio, the first thing that springs to mind are streets full of revellers in fancy dress with colourful glitter smeared all over their faces. And now The Guardian says that glitter is actually made from tiny pieces of plastic, which once you wash them off, end up in the oceans and find their way into the marine food chain. and also back onto our plates. The good news is that scientists are now working on biodegradable glitter, so soon you'll be able to enjoy Carnival without harming the planet.
Oh my God, now we can't even eat properly because we're putting glitter on. Okay, another thing to watch out for. No, seriously.
Get that biodegradable glitter down.
Clement, thank you very much for that.